Making self-love radical. What radical self-love is and what it ain't. Let me answer a couple of questions right away before you dig too deeply into this book and are left feeling bamboozled and hoodwinked. First, will this book fix my self-esteem, Sonia? Nope. Second, will this book teach me how to have self-confidence? Nah. And prompt to third question, well, then why in hate am I reading this book? You are reading this book because your heart is calling you towards something exponentially more magnanimous and more succulent than self-esteem and self-confidence. You are being called toward radical self-love, while not completely unrelated to self-esteem or self-confidence. Radical self-love is its own entity, a lush and verdant island offering safe harbor for self-esteem and self-confidence. Unfortunately, those two ships often choose to wander aimlessly adrift at sea, relying on willpower and ego to drive them, and in the absence of those motors are left hopelessly pursuing the fraught marriage of someday. As in someday, I will feel good enough about myself to shop that screenplay I wrote. Or someday, when I have a self-confidence, I'll get out of this raggedy relationship. Self-esteem and self-confidence are fleeting, and both can exist without radical love. But it almost never bodes well for anyone involved when they do. Think of all the obnoxious people you know, oozing arrogance, folks we can be certain think extremely highly of themselves, although you may call them confident. At least that may be one of things you call them. I bet the phrase radical self-love doesn't quite fit. Pick your favorite totalitarian dictator, and you will likely find someone who has done just fine in self-confidence category. After all, you would have to think about the bee's knees. To entertain the idea of single-handedly dominating the entire planet. The 45th US president strikes me as a man with epic self-confidence. The Donald is not struggling with his sense of self, even if the rest of the world is struggling with its sense of who he is. Even if we were to surmise that Trump and others like him are acting from exaggerated lack of self-esteem or confidence, I think we can agree not much of their attitude or actions like love. You might be asking, okay, well, this book won't help me with my self-esteem or self-love. Will it at least teach me self-acceptance? My short answer is, if I do my job correctly, no. Not because self-acceptance isn't useful, but because I believe there is a port far beyond the isle of self-acceptance, and I want us to go there. Think back to all the times you accepted something and found out completely uninspiring. When I was a kid, my mother would make my brother and me a frozen pot pies for dinner. It was the meal for the days she did not feel like cooking. I indulged the flaky pastry crust, the chunks of mechanically pressed chicken in Band-Aid colored beige gravy were tolerable, but there was nothing less appetizing than a boring vegetable medley of peas, green peas, and carrot portioned throughout each bite like miserable stars. In an endless galaxy. Yes, I ate those hateful mixed vegetables. Hunger will make you accept things. I accept that my options were limited. Pick out a million tiny peas or get a job at the rape age at 10 and figure out how to feed myself. Why am I talking about pot peas? Because self-acceptance is the mixed veggies pot pie of radical self-love. It will keep you alive when the options are sparse. But what if there's a life beyond frozen pot pea?